So last time we had done about CSS and HTML, fundamentals of HTML and the different tags we had studied. Today we are talking about HTML forms, right? A form is you can say it has different controls like label, text box, checkbox, radio buttons, right? A normal form which you fill on your internet web page, that kind of a form if you want to design. So an HTML form is used to collect user input. The user input is most often sent to a server for processing, right? So here first name is the label they have given, and this box which is there where you have to write your input is the input box, right? And then you, or your text box you can say. Last name is again label, and this is again the text box or input box, right? So if you submit it, right, so it says submitted form data, it is sent to the same to a page. First name is equal to John and last name is equal to Doe, this kind of a. So the server has processed your input and returned this answer. So this is your answer which the server has returned. So this kind of a form is created, right? So if you see how the form is created, so if you have to start with a form, right, under HTML body, right? In H2 tag they have given HTML form. So this is a it prints on the form like this. Then form is the one which form tag is the one which you will be using a form element for creating a form. Then action is equal to slash, that is the same folder where your website is residing. That's why they have put slash action underscore page dot php. So on this page, whatever input is going to this page. So they have given this action here, right? Now they are saying label for is equal to first name. So label is another tag under the form tag. You have the different types of tags, like label is one of the tag. For is equal to first name. So for is the property or attribute of the label, where you are saying it is for the first name and you are writing first name here, right? And you are closing the label, and then you are giving a break. Break means the next line, right? Break doesn't have a ending tag. Then input is input. There are different types of input elements. So input is another element under the form tag. So input like type can be text, right? Type can be submit, type can be checkbox, type can be, there are different types of inputs. Input are there. So input type is equal to text is there. So the text box will be created with this ID. You can give the ID or the name for this. ID is equal, name is also there. ID is also there. ID is equal to first name. Name is equal to F name. That is F name. F name, both ID and name we have given. And these are the different attributes: type, ID, name, value. Value is equal to John. So already printed value is given here. So it will be showing you John. Then break again. Then label for is equal to last for L name, last name, right? So last name is given, label is closed, break. Then input type is equal to text. Another text box is created. ID is last L name is L name, value is Doe. So Doe is given in the text box. Then two breaks are there, right? Sorry, that means two line breaks are there. Then input type is equal to submit. So submit button will be created here. Value is equal to submit. So here submit value, whatever value you give, it will be displayed on the particular control, that is text box or button or whatever. So the value here is submit. So it will click here, and then you are closing the form. So this is how they have created this form. Right. So if you click the submit button, the form data will be sent to a page called action underscore page dot php. So to that page it will be sent to. So that kind of a thing they have created. So this is how form is created actually. Right. So the form element is the element with which you create a form in HTML. The form element is used to create an HTML form for the user input, right? Form, and you have different elements under the form, and then you close the form element. The form element is a container for different types of input elements such as text fields, checkboxes, radio button, submit button, etc. All the different form elements are covered, so we will talk about that. So first element they are talking about under the form element is the input element. So the HTML input element is the most used form element. The input element can be displayed in many ways depending on the type attribute, right? So you have input type is equal to text, displays a single line text input field. So this is for the text box, input text box, right? Input type is equal to radio if you are giving. So display a radio button for selecting one of many choices, right? Then input type is equal to checkbox, displays a checkbox for selecting zero or more or of many choices. So you can select multiple choices in a checkbox. In a radio button, you can only select one of the choices. Then input type is equal to submit, displays a submit button for submitting the form, and input type is equal to button, displays a clickable button. So you have button also, you have submit button also, you have checkbox, radio button, text box. These are the different types of input element. So type, the input element have an attribute called type, where type are can be given for there are different type of inputs, like text box is an input, radio button is an input, checkbox is there, submit button is there, normal button is there, right? So these are there. Then text fields. Now the input type is equal to text, define a single line input field for text input, that means this one, right? So this creates a text box, right? So if you give form label, so label is another element under the form apart from the input, where a label or a name of a particular text box or something is to be displayed. So for that label is required. Label for is equal to f name, first name is given, label break, and input type is equal to text id for f name, name is f name, and break. So this kind of a thing they have created. So this, it will show like this: first name, last name, and there are text boxes under this. This is the text box we have created under the form, right? So now if we come to the label element, notice the use of the label element in the above example. The label tag defines a label for many form elements. So label element is useful for screen reader users, right? So on the screen, the user has to read what I have to fill in this text box. So for that, you are giving a label that first name has to be filled, right? Because the screen reader, just hold on for a second. Yeah, sorry. So the label element also helps, sorry, we were here because the screen reader will read out loud the label when the user focuses on the input element. The label element also helps users to have difficulty clicking on very small regions such as radio buttons or checkboxes, because when the user clicks a text within the label element, it toggles the radio button or checkbox. Right. The for attribute of the label tag should be equal to the ID attribute of the input element to bind them together. So they are saying the for element, whatever you are giving to the label tag, should be equal to the ID attribute of the input tag. So if you are giving the ID as CSS, so label should also be the for should also be CSS, right? So you are saying here input type is equal to radio, ID HTML, name is equal to fav underscore language, and value is HTML. Label for so here you are giving label for HTML. So yeah, here you are writing HTML, right? So ID, if your ID of the radio button is HTML, then for the label for that should also be equal to HTML. Right. Same way, input type is equal to radio, ID is CSS, name, fav language, value CSS. Label for should also be equal to the ID of the input type CSS. So if you see this, right? So here, input type radio, first the radio button is created, right? The ID of the radio button is HTML and name is favorite language or a favorite underscore language. Value is HTML, right? So label for, so here the label is displayed as HTML for HTML. HTML will be displayed here, the label. Then again, the next radio button, its label. The next radio button, its label. Right? Only one of the options will be selected in a radio button. So this is how they have made the radio buttons, right? So this is how it will be created. Right now, if you go for the checkboxes, the type you will say checkbox. Input type is equal to checkbox. You will say it defines a checkbox, which the checkboxes let a user select zero or more options of a limited number of choices. So if you are saying input type is equal to checkbox, ID is vehicle one, name is vehicle one, value is bike. So label for, so it should be same as ID. So ID is vehicle one. So for label for is equal to vehicle one. I have a bike, this kind of a thing. So here, if you click here, so you have created checkbox, three checkboxes. First one label has one, I have a bike. Next label has I have a car. Next label has I have a boat. So whatever option you can select multiple options here in a checkbox, right? This kind of a thing, right? So this is how it is created, the checkbox. Then submit button. So the input type is equal to submit defines a button for submitting the form data to a form handler. The form handler is typically a file on the server with a script for processing input data. The form handler is specified in the form's action attribute, right? So what they are saying is submitting the form to a form handler means wherever the data of that form is being saved or processed or whatever. So the submit button does that. So the here, if you are saying first name text box and last name text box, so label you have created for first name and then the text box is created for the first name. Then label is created for the last name and input text box is created for the last name, and then you have a submit button. So input type is equal to submit, value is equal to submit, right? So this kind of a form is created, right? And because you have given here form, the attribute of form is action is equal to, and you are giving this where your form should be there. So action.php page. So when you click here, it takes you there. Form data submitted, this kind of a thing, right? Then you have name attribute for input. Notice that each input field must have a name attribute to be submitted. If the name attribute is omitted, the value of the input field will not be sent at all. So what they are saying, we were giving like input type is equal to text, ID is equal to first name, value is this, right? And we have not given the name attribute, which we were giving here, name attribute. Name is equal to first name, ID is also there, name is also there. ID is to identify that this is other input of input text box for first name, and name is the one which will be submitted to the server, right? So note, if you omit this name property or name attribute, the value of the input field will not be sent at all, so it will not be sent to the server. So here we have not given the name attribute here. If you see, input type is equal to text, ID is first name. We have not given name. We are saying value is equal to John, right? So if we run this and so submit, so nothing will be coming here. Input will not be received if you are not giving the name. So that is what it is there, right? So name property is very important to give if you want to submit the things to the, right. Now the HTML form attributes we are talking about. So the action attribute which we are giving in the form tag. So the action attribute defines the action to be performed when the form is submitted. Usually the form data is sent to a file on the server when the user clicks on the submit button. In the example below, the form data is sent to a file called action underscore page.php. This file contains a server-side script that handles the form data. So here, this page, whatever page they have created with the PHP, is actually a server side scripting that handles the data accordingly. So it captures this data, the name, the first name, the last name, and to the this action page, right? So that is what action attribute does. It takes the file to the specified place where you want on the server to be saved, or whatever action has to be taken. If the action attribute is omitted, the action is sent to the current page. So if you don't write the action attribute, it will be sent to the current page, which is this page only, where you have where your things will be displayed. The target attribute specifies where to display the response that is received after submitting the form. The target attribute can have one of the following values. So you also have one more attribute apart from action. You have a target attribute. So what does the target attribute tell you? That where your response will be. Will it be on the new page or a new tab, or will it be on the current window only? So this kind of a thing. So if you say underscore blank equal to underscore blank, target equal to underscore blank, the response is displayed in a new window or tab. If you say underscore self, that means the response is displayed in the current window. If you say underscore parent, the response is displayed in the parent frame. Underscore top, the response is displayed in the full body of the window. And F frame name, the response is displayed in a named iframe. So you also create frames in your web page. So if you create a frame, so in a particular frame you want to give show the response, that can also be done with a frame name. So the default value is underscore self, which means that the response will open in the current window. That's why we are saying if we don't give the action, right? So current page will be there, or target is also not given. By default, it is self only, which means the current page, current window. So here form action is given and target is blank. That means it will be displayed in a separate tab or separate new page, this kind of a thing. If you are giving this target is equal to blank, right? Anybody is asking anything? Yes, Neeraj? Yes? Neeraj, are you asking anything? Unmute your mic, Neeraj, and you can speak.
हेलो।
Yes.
हाँ मैम, गुड आफ्टरनून मैम।
Good afternoon.
मैम ये क्लासेस जो है ये रेगुलर हो रही है क्या यहाँ पे?
सैटरडे संडे होती है ना, आपको पता है,
नो
इग्नू
मैम।
में क्लासेस। हाँ,
नो मैम, टुडे आज मेरा पहला क्लास है मैम, इसलिए मुझे आइडिया।
आपको पता नहीं था, आपका शेड्यूल आपको गया नहीं था?
नो मैम, मैं
आप
शेड्यूल नहीं
कौन
है।
से स्टडी सेंटर या कौन से रीजनल सेंटर से हो?
मैम ये 500 पटना रीजनल सेंटर।
तो आई हैव नो आइडिया कि आपको आपका ये क्लासेस यहीं पे कंडक्ट हो रही है, क्योंकि हम तो दिल्ली रीजनल सेंटर से क्लास ले रहे हैं।
भाई आपका कौन सा मोड है? सॉरी फॉर
मेरा
इंटरप्शन मैम। ओडीएल और
मेरा तो
ओएल?
नहीं, ऑफलाइन है मेरा, वो सेंटर पे है वो।
ओडीएल
सेंटर
मोड है
पे
आपका ना?
आप ऑनलाइन
हाँ।
अटेंड कर रहे हो ना?
यस मैम, मेरा ओडीएल है मैम।
तो आप अपने रीजनल सेंटर से बात करते हैं ना कि आपकी क्लासेस कहाँ कंडक्ट हो रही है। इफ दे से योर क्लासेस आर कंडक्टेड एट दिल्ली रीजनल सेंटर ओनली, लाइक वी आर कंडक्टिंग, देन यू कैन अटेंड दिस क्लास। अदरवाइज यू आस्क योर रीजनल सेंटर इन पटना।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू
सॉरी
मैम।
फॉर इंटरप्शन। एक्चुअली मेल आया है, आपको मेल मिला नहीं होगा। पटना रीजन में मेल आया है कि आरसी दिल्ली का ये क्लास ज्वाइन करना है।
अच्छा सर, मेल मुझे आया नहीं था सर, मैं चेक कर लूंगा, एक बार स्पैम में चेक कर लूंगा, मे भी हो सकता आया हो।
हाँ, तो वहाँ पे क्लासेस तो मेरे ख्याल से फर्स्ट वीक ऑफ अक्टूबर से ही स्टार्ट है।
यस यस मैम,
ओडीएल वालों का है मैम,
वी गॉट द
ओडीएल वालों
ईमेल
का
बिफोर।
यही क्लास कंडक्ट हो रहा है।
तो फर्स्ट वीक ऑफ अक्टूबर से आपकी क्लास स्टार्ट हो चुकी है, तो नाउ आई डोंट नो।
मैम ओके मैम, चेक कर लूंगा मैम।
हाँ जी।
मैम इससे मैं कंटिन्यू कर सकता हूँ ना?
हाँ हाँ, करिए।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू मैम।
राइट, सो वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट, हम बात कर रहे थे अबाउट द फॉर्म। सो यू कैन ऑल्सो गिव द टारगेट। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट देयर इज अनदर एट्रीब्यूट विच इज नोन एज मेथड। So method attribute specifies a HTTP method to be used when submitting the form data. Now, apart from action and target, you also have another attribute in the form element, that is method. So method specifies HTTP method, that is hypertext transfer protocol, that how your data will be going to the server, right? If you say method is equal to get, or you say method, there are two things, get and post methods. So the form data can be sent as URL variables with the method get. So if you give get, so your form will be having, if you see here on your URL, the values are given here only. Name is equal to John and last name is equal to Doe in the URL. So it will be going in the URL also, the values which you are submitting, right? But if you give it as post, right? If you give method is equal to post instead of get, so the values will not be shown in the URL. If you run this, the values will not be shown in the URL. If you see here, there is no value here. So which one is better? Get method or post method?
Post method.
Right? Because you
Post
don't want to show what values are going on the URL. So post method is the best one to put it on the server. So no, here they are giving you the details that in notes on get is append the form data to the URL in name or value pair. Never use get to send sensitive data. The submitted form data is visible in the URL. So the length of a URL is limited, that is 2048 characters. If you have lot of things in your form, and you, if you want to submit that, the get method will have all the values displayed on the URL. So it is only 2048 characters long. So either the all the values will not be displayed, or whatever, if it is less than 2048, then all the values in the URL will be displayed. So that if it is a sensitive data, so don't use get method. So useful for form submission where a user wants to bookmark the result, and get is good for non-secure data like query strings in Google, right? But if you saying notes on post is appends the form data inside the body of the HTTP request, the submitted form data is not shown in the URL. So it appends the data inside the body of the HTTP, that is a hypertext transfer protocol. The post has no size limitations and can be used to send large amounts of data, and form submissions with post cannot be bookmarked, right? So this is about post. So if you have sensitive data, send it by post, not by get, right? So these are the two the method get has two values, that is get and post. So use post mostly, don't use get if you don't want to show your data in the URL. Then you have autocomplete attribute also. So the autocomplete attribute specify whether a form should have autocomplete on or off. So when autocomplete is on, the browser automatically complete values based on values that the user has entered before. So you know about autocomplete, all of you must be knowing about that. If you say autocomplete on, so whatever, if you have filled the form earlier, whatever values are, or it will save it in its browser, and whenever you fill the form next time, the autocomplete will automatically enter the values which you have earlier filled, right? Autocomplete. So this is another feature. Autocomplete is equal to on, right? So if you, for whatever values will be there, whatever you have filled, it will give you, the autocomplete will give you whatever values are there. So this kind of a thing. Then you have non-validate attribute. So the non-validate attribute is a Boolean attribute. When present, it specifies the form data input should not be validated when submitted, right? So should not be validated means you do not require to validate the data whether it is correct, whether we validate that input should be filled, or correct input should be this much length should be there, or something like that, date format should be like this, or whatever it can be. So that validation you don't require, whatever the user is filling. So for that you have no validate. That means you do not want to validate the form in any way. So there is no validate also, right? So these are the different things which are there. So there are other things also. We have just gone through the main things. These are all the other things, right? So we are talking about. So now we are talking about the form elements. So one by one, just you have input, which we have seen. We have different types of input. Type is equal to text, radio, checkbox, submit, right, or button, right? You have label also. You have select, text area, button, text filter, legend, data list, output, option, opt group. So there are different types of form elements there. So input we have already seen. We could give type is equal to text. Label we have seen. Label we can give for each one. Then there is another one which is select. Select is used to define a drop down list, right? Like label for is equal to cars. Choose a car. Select I. So select is the one which is used for making a drop down list. Select ID is equal to car. Name is equal to car. You are saying, right? Then option value. So you have under select, you have another element under the select, which is option. So option, first option value is equal to whatever the value you are giving and the name, and you close the option. Then the second option you are giving, then the third option you are giving, close that option also, and then close select. So this is how you are creating. So if you see, you have created 1, 2, 3, 4 drop from 4 values in the drop down list: Volvo, Saab, Fiat, and Audi. So here, these are the values. These are the options in the select. So this creates a drop down list like this. This is select, right? So the option element defines an option that can be selected. By default, the first item in the drop down list is selected. So if you don't select anything, by default it is the first option which is shown here and which will be selected, right? So to define a pre-selected option, add the selected attribute to the option. So you are saying option value is equal to Fiat selected. Fiat. So if you say selected inside the option, right? Like here, we have not given anybody as selected one. So here, Volvo will be the first, which is by default selected. But if you want a particular thing to be selected, then option value is equal to Fiat selected. You have to write it, right? So if you see here, so we have first we had given here Volvo, then Saab, then Fiat. We had said selected inside attribute of option is selected. So the one which is selected will be shown first instead of Volvo, the first one. So first Fiat will be the first one which will be the selected one. But so that you can also do that. Then visible values. Use a size attribute to specify the number of visible values, right? So if you want that if you say select ID is car, name is cars, size is equal to 3 in the select. If you say size is equal to 3, so that means the drop down list will, the visible values will be 3 values which will be shown. So if you see here, 3 values are by default shown here, right? 3 values are shown in the drop down list like this, right? So this is how you can specify the size also, that how many number of visible values should be shown here. Then allow multiple selections also, right? Right now you could right now there is no multiple selection. You can only select one option in the drop down list. But if you want multiple selections, then use multiple attribute to allow the user to select more than one value. So here in this we are giving the size as 4. That means at least 4 values will be shown, and you are saying multiple. That means that one more attribute you are adding to the select, that is multiple. So that means you can select multiple values. So I can select this also and press Control and select other values, right? Press Control and then select the other value. So you can select the multiple selections also, because you are saying multiple here, right? So this is another thing. Then you have, after select, you have text area is another element of the form. The text area element defines a multi-line input field. So normal type input type is equal to text. A text box is created, but that is that is up to 255 characters input is there. But if you want multi-line input, number of lines input, right? So then you have to create a text area. Right, so text area name is message, rows is 10, and row and column you can give here. There are two attributes of the text area, that is rows, how many rows and how many columns text you want to give. Like suppose you want a suggestion box, some kind of a thing in your form. So you are giving number of rows and number of columns, right? The cat was so here they are saying the cat was playing in the garden. This is put in the text area. So so there are 10 rows and 10 columns here. That is what text area is. Right? So the row attribute specify the visible number of lines in a text area, and columns attribute specify the visible width of a text area. So width of the text area will be specified by the columns, and rows will specify the number of lines in the text area. That means you can write 10 lines. Right, so this is how the HTML code will be displayed, right? Then you can also specify the text area style width or size also with the style CSS style attribute. So you can say text area name message style is equal to width colon 200 pixels semicolon height colon to 600 pixels semicolon. So with style attribute also height and width can be given of the text area, right? So it will be like this, right? Right. So these are the this is how it is created here. If you see a long one, it is there because you have said the height should be 600 pixels and width should be 200 pixels. Right, so that can also be there. So after the text area you have another element which is button, right, in the form. So apart from the text input type, also in the input type also you can create a button, and you can create a button separately also with button element. So button element defines a clickable button. Button type is equal to button. So type is also there. On click, you can create events. On click is an event, right? Is equal to alert, hello world. Alert is a JavaScript code. Alert is used to print or give a message, like a message box. It is like a message box in JavaScript. So if you're saying alert hello world, so it will print hello world when you click on the button. So on click is an event, right? When you click, so it will print this, right? So if you see here, but you have created a button, the type is button here. On click, right, this message will be displayed hello world, and then what is displayed on the button is click me. So if you click on this, a message box comes here which says hello world, right? This kind of a thing. You can also say on click is equal to any function also you can call here of the JavaScript function, right? So always specify the type attribute for the button element. Different browsers may use different default types for the button element. So you have to specify that type is equal to button here, right? So we'll talk about the input, different things. Then the field set and legend elements are also there. The field set element is used to group related data in a form. So if you want to group related data in a form, then you can use field set. The legend element defines a caption for the field set element. So you have a field set and you also have a legend. So field set is used to group the related data, and legend is used to define the caption for the field set. So if you say, see here, we are saying field set, and this is opening and closing of the field set. Inside that you are saying legend, personalia you are giving, right? So this is the caption which will be displayed for the field set. And then you are saying first name, label first name, input type text box will be created for the first name where John is displayed, then label last name and input type text box will be created where Doe will be displayed, and a submit button will be there inside a field set. So if you see here, see, a box will be there. The name of the box is Personalia. This is a field set, and inside that box will be the first name and last name text box and button. So this kind of a grouping of elements can also be done inside a box, and the caption or the caption for that is given in the legend, right? So this can also be created. Then you have a data list element. So data list element specifies a list of predefined option for an input element. Users, you will see a drop down list of the predefined option as they input data. So list attribute of the input element must refer to the ID attribute of the data list element. So data list element specifies the list of predefined options for an input element. So here they are saying input list is equal to browsers, right? So you can also give either a data list you can use, or so the users will see a drop down list of the predefined options as they input data. So the list attribute of the input element must refer to the ID attribute of the data list element. So you have to give input list is equal to browsers, and date you are saying data list ID is equal to browser. So the list element browser and the ID data list ID element should be equal. So this is browser, so this should also be browsers. Under the data list, you are saying option value is equal to Edge, Firefox, Chrome, Opera, Safari, and then you are closing the data list. Remember that this option is not getting closed. In the select one, you were closing the option. Here you are not closing in data list. So if you see here, right, these are the elements. Apart from that, you can also type your one also, right? So you can type here also, yours also. That is what they are saying. Apart from the list which is displayed here, you can also give input can be also added. So this is how data list predefined option for an input element. So that is there. Then output element is also there. So output element represents the result of a calculation like one performed by a script. So here if you see form action, so action page is given here. On input is equal to x dot value is equal to parseInt dot a dot value plus parseInt b dot value. So what is parseInt used for? This is a inbuilt function which whatever is given in the text box, right, is in a text format, in a string, right? Whatever input you give in a text box, right, will be in a string, in a text. But you want that input should be an integer value you want to take, not as a string you want to take. So that you have to convert it. So there is an inbuilt function in JavaScript which is known as parseInt. So a dot value, that means you are converting that whatever value the a has should be converted to integer, then add it to the integer value of b, parseInt, right? So here, if you see here, and this is given here on input. So on input, they are saying when you input, so the values of a and b should be added. So here you are giving input type is equal to range, ID a, name a, value is equal to 50. And here using 100 plus, input type is equal to number, ID is b, name is b, value is 50 is equal to. So here you are saying 0, 100 plus whatever value is equal to, output name is equal to x, right? Name is equal to x for AB, right? For this and this, you need to find out the output. So here if you see that this range is like this. If you're saying input type is equal to range, so it is creating a range like this. So you are saying 100 plus, so whatever value you are increasing, if you see here, so this way it is getting so how much you are increasing, that much value is being added to this. A plus, so A's value you are taking plus whatever value of B is given here. So by default, it is displaying these values, whatever 100 and whatever values from starting from 0 to 100 are this. So by default here it is showing 50 and 50, right? The input values are 50 and 50, so 50 is shown here, but the values, if you increase it accordingly, it will keep on adding. This is how they have shown it. So this is another way of showing it, through the output. That is not required, but these are the different options you can go for, right? So these are there. Then input type, there are input types, like in type is equal to button, checkbox, color is also there, date is also there, date time is there, email is also there, file is there, hidden, image, month, number, password is also there, radio, range, reset, search, submit, tell, text, time, URL, week. So everything is explained here, right? Text we have already seen for creating a text box, right? Then password, right? If you say input type is equal to password, ID, PWD, name, PWD. So whatever you type in the password will be treated, will be dot dot. It will not be shown to you. That is what password is, right? So the characters in the password field are masked, shown as asterisk or circles, right? That is there. Then submit also we have seen the button, right? Reset is there. So input type is equal to reset defines a reset button that will reset all form values to their default values. So you also have input type is equal to reset. So if you say, if you have filled this form, you say reset. So whatever values are there, right, will be given. So I'm saying here, suppose whatever I'm giving my own values and I say reset, so it will come back to the original values which are there, right? You also have radio button, we have seen that, type radio, type checkbox also we have seen, type button also we have seen, right? So here input type is equal to button, on click you can give whatever is there, type color is there, right? So is used for input fields that should contain a color. So if you're saying input type is equal to color, ID, fave color, name, fave color, so this kind of a thing like this. So you can also, if you click on that, so you can select the different types of colors. So it will show the different color schemes. So this is color. Input type is equal to color, right? Then date is input type is equal to date is also there, where is used to for input fields that should contain a date, right? Like this, a date picker kind of a thing will come. You can select your birthday, you can select the date accordingly. So date picker will be there, right? You can also use the min and max attribute to add restrictions to dates, right? Minimum date and maximum date. So you have min and max attributes also. Like here, input type is equal to date, ID date max, name is equal to date max. Max is this one, and another date has minimum as this one, like that. So here you will give them enter a date after this and enter a date before this, something like that. So minimum and maximum also you can specify. Input type, date time. Input type, date time local, specifies a date and time input field with no time zone. Depending on some browser support, a date picker can show up the input field. So date time local means it will not choose any, no time zone will be chosen according to its local system time. According to that, you can select the date and time. Specifies a date and time input field with no time zone, right? So input type email is also there, which is used to input email, the format of whatever format is there for the email, that is only will be taken in the email. So input type is equal to email is there, right? So here an email format can be given here according to that, right? If you give wrong email format, @ symbol or something is missing, then it will automatically, some smartphones recognize the email type and add .com to the keyboard to match email input. So that is also there. Otherwise, if you miss @ or something, it will automatically give you an error that email format is not correct. Input type image is also there, which defines an image. So input type is equal to image. So you can give the source, then alternate text, and width and height can also be given. So that is also there, right? Like this. So in the sub input type image you have given for submission. So that kind of a thing. So different kinds of input type file is also there, which is defined to define a file select field and browse button for the file upload. So if you say input type is file, so for like a file, you can choose a file from your own file or something, that kind of a thing, to choose a file. Input type hidden is also there, which defines a hidden input field. Hidden field lets web developers include data that cannot be seen or modified by users when a form is submitted. So you can also put a hidden field also, right? A hidden field often stores what database record that needs to be updated when the form is submitted. Right, so here input type hidden, ID customer name, customer ID value is this. So this is the hidden field. It will not be shown here on the form. It is a hidden field, something like that. Then input type month is there. Input type is equal to month, allows the users to select a month and a year, right? So input type is equal to month here, right? So here you will select month and year accordingly, whatever you want to select. So this kind of a thing is also there for selecting the month and year, right? Input type number, so defines a numeric input field. So if you say input type is equal to number, ID quantity, name quantity, min 1 and max 5. That means minimum 1 to 5 value you can put, right, like this. Minimum 1 to 5. No other values are allowed here. So it will not take the values. From 1 to 5 only I can give, other values I cannot give. So that kind of a thing, that is only numeric values will be there. Even if I put some other value here, it will not accept it. I'm pressing characters, it will not accepting it. Only numeric values. So there are different types of things there. You also have uh, range also, which we have seen right now. So defines a control for entering number whose exact value is not important, like a slider control. Define a range is 0 to 100. However, you can set restrictions on what numbers are accepted with min, max, and step attributes. So input type is equal to range, ID wall, name wall, min 0 and max 50. Right? So minimum is 0, maximum is 50. This kind of a thing. Slider can be created with a range, right? Input type search is also there, right? Is used for search fields. Search field behaves like a regular text field. So input type is equal to search, ID, G search, name. So here search field, whatever you want to search. So this is a search field, right? Input type tel is used for input fields that should contain a telephone number. So if you say input type is equal to tel, ID phone, name is phone, pattern, so you can give the pattern here like this, 0 to 9, then 3, 0 to 9, something, the pattern they have created. So something like that, this kind of a thing. 1 2 3 hyphen 4 5 hyphen 6 7 8, some format. It's just an example of the format which they are using, but you can create your own format also. Input type time is also there, allows the user to select a time with no time zone. So you can select the time accordingly with no time zone, right? So that is there. Input type URL is also there, which is used for input fields that should contain a URL address, right? So input type is equal to URL is there. So here you can type a URL address, whatever address you want to use, add your home page, right? Input type week, input type is equal to week, will select the user select a week and year. We can select a week and year accordingly, right? That is there. So there are different input type attribute accordingly. There are different types which we have seen here. Then input attributes, input element has different attributes like value. We have seen that value specifies an initial value for an input, like we are saying here, initial value is John. You can change that also accordingly. You can give your own like that, right? So then read only attribute. The input read only attribute specify that an input field is read only. So if you say read only here in an input in one of the input attribute is read only. So if I want to change it, it will not allow me to change it because it is read only. It is not allowing me to change it. I can change this, but I cannot change the first name. So that is read only. Right, then disabled attribute input disabled attribute specify that an input field should be disabled. So the input type this text box for first name is disabled here. So this is, it will be like this, a gray color. No clicking will also be allowed. Disabled field. In this you can click and change it, but in the first name is disabled, so you cannot click or do anything. Then the size field is there. The input size attribute specifies the visible width in characters of an input field. The default value for size is 20. That means the size of the text box is 50. Here we have given size is equal to 50. By default it is 20. Right? So here you can give up to 50 characters or whatever. So that is what they are talking about. Right? Otherwise by default it is 20. So size attribute works with text also, search also, telephone, URL, email, and password types they are talking about, right? Then max length attribute is also there, which specifies the maximum number of characters allowed in an input. So when a max length is set, the input field will not accept more than the specified number of characters. However, this attribute does not provide any feedback, right? So if you want to alert the user, you must write JavaScript code. So here the max length, if you say max length is equal to 4, input type text, ID pin, name pin, maximum length is 4, size is 4, right? So 4 character size is here, so you can only put, you cannot put the 5th character if even if I am tight, only 4 are allowed. So that is max length, right? Min and max attributes, we have seen that you can specify for a range of values, right? The maximum and minimum for an input field. The min and max attribute works with the following input types. Number, it works, range, date, date time local, month, time, and week. So if you see here, this is date, the maximum, minimum, right? And here number also they have set. So like that. So maximum, minimum they have set here for the thing. Then multiple attribute, we have seen that multiple attributes specify the user specify that the user is allowed to enter more than one value in an input field. So it is allowed for email and file. Multiple. If you say multiple in a file, so you are allowed to have multiple file. You can add multiple files from this. Right, to select multiple files, hold down the control or shift key while selecting, right? So pattern attribute is also there. Input pattern attribute specify a regular expression that the input field value is checked against when the user is submitted. So pattern attribute works with the following input types: text, date, search, URL, email, and password, right? So here pattern, like this, pattern is equal to, so pattern actually you give, like in a telephone you give this pattern should be there, that start from A to Z, capital A to Z or small a to Z, and then 3. So here something like that. So if to start with capital A to Z, any character can be started, but I cannot start with, I'm starting here with a number. So if I submit it, it will give me a error. Please match the requested format. So if I give ASD3, it will please match the requested pattern. 3-letter country code. So only 3 letters are allowed. So I will give whatever 3 letters. So now I think it will accept it like this. So this is pattern, right? Then placeholder attribute is also there, right? Placeholder attribute specified a shorthand that describes the expected value of an input, a sample value, or a short description of the expected format. So like this, placeholder. So placeholder will is this. So this is a description that from 0 to 9, you can select any number. There will only be 3 numbers. Then hyphen, then 0 to 9 you can select any number and there will be only 2 numbers. Then hyphen, 0 to 9 numbers you can select, but there will be only 3 numbers. So like this, 3, 2, 3. The placeholder will tell this by default this number is there, and then you can. The placeholder attribute work with the following input types: text, search, URL, number, telephone, email, and password. Short hint that this kind of a format you have to give. The required attribute. So now if you want to have a validation, the required attribute specifies that an input field must be filled out before submitting the form. The required attribute works with the following input types: text, search, URL, email, password, date pickers, number, checkbox, radio, and file. So if you see here, input type is equal to text, ID is username, name is username. So here it is saying required, right? So required means if you don't fill it and you press submit, it will say fill out this field. So you have to fill something, then it will accept it, right? So this is another validation. Then step attribute. The input step attribute specify the legal number intervals for an input field. For example, if step is equal to 3, legal numbers could be -3, 0, 3, 6, etc. This attribute can be used together with the max and min attribute to create a range of legal values. The step attribute works with the following input types: number, range, date time, local, month, time, and week. So if you say input type number, ID points, name points, step 3, right? So step 3 means your first it is -3, then 0, then 3. That means it keeps on incrementing 3. Step 3 means it will keep on incrementing 3, right? That is what step 3 means. Then autofocus is another there. So in the input autofocus attribute specify that an input field should automatically get focus when the page loads. So you are in the input type text first name, you are putting autofocus attribute. So if you say autofocus, the focus will be on the first name. See here, automatically the cursor is on the when your page loads, the focus is on the first name. The cursor is on the first name. That is autofocus, right? Then height and width attributes are there. The height and width attributes specify the height and width of an input type image element, right? So here image element, you have put the height and width. You can do that. Then list attribute refers to date list element that contains predefined option for an input element. So input list browsers, date list, ID browsers, right? Option value, these are there. So the list, input list refers to a data list element that contains a predefined options for an input element. So that is what they are talking. We have already seen that. Then autocomplete also we have seen that if you say autocomplete, so whatever values you have filled earlier, it will the autocomplete allows the browsers to predict the value. When a user starts to type in a field, the browser should display options to fill in the field based on the earlier typed values. That is autocomplete. So we have seen that also. So these are the different things which are there. Then form attribute, input form attribute specifies the form the input element belongs to. Okay. So what they are saying, if you say here, if you see here, we have created a form here where we have put first name in text box and submit button. And after we close the form, after that we are again creating a label and the input box for that, that is the last name. But here if you see, the ID of form is form 1, right? So here input type is equal to text, ID is name is L name, and form is equal to form 1. So if you are giving the last name field below is outside the form element, but still part of the form, because you have given here that it is form is equal to form 1, which is this. ID is form 1 here. Right? So this form element, this form 1, this form, you can create outside that particular form also. With this form element you can create an element outside the form also, but it is still part of the form. Form action attribute is also there, right, which specifies the URL of the file that will process the input when the form is submitted. So here if you see, input type is equal to submit form action, so you are giving where the action should be there, that page is displayed here. Value is equal to submit as admin. So this attribute overrides the action attribute, so it will override this action attribute, this form action. Right, the form action attribute works with the following input type: submit and image. So this is there. Form and C type attribute is there. This input form and C type attribute specifies how the form data should be enclosed when submitted, only for forms with method post. So the attribute overrides the N C type attribute of the form element. So here again the submit button you are giving form and C type multi-part / form data. So these are different elements they are talking about. Form method, now they are talking about get and post. We have already seen that. Form target. Again, here it is giving blank. So form target attribute specifies a name or a keyword that indicates whether to display the response that is received after submitting the form. This attribute overrides the target. That means in a new underscore blank means in a new page, right? So you had a target attribute in the form. So if you have a target, by default the target attribute is self, so it will replace it with blank, underscore blank, if you are giving in the submit button form target attribute. Form no validate is also there. So the input form no validate attribute specifies that the input element should not be validated when submitted. The attribute overrides a no validate attribute. If you have given here no validate in the form, it will override it, and in the button you are saying form no validate is equal to form no validate. So it will not validate the form without validation. You also have no validate attribute, which we have seen here, like here, right? So these are the different things in the form, right? So in your study material, you have HTML form elements. So we have seen the form element, how to write the form element. The input type we have seen, radio and text box and checkbox and submit. So we have all seen this. URL, date, right? So in the exercises which I told you last time also, create an HTML page as shown in figure. The user can specify any expression as input, use a form element to collect the user data. So here, from here you are collecting, from here whatever input the user gives, you have to collect that data and submit, this kind of a thing. Then create a scrolling list that shows 5 elements on the following list of PC processors: Intel i7, Motorola 68000, AMD Athlon, Intel 8088, AMD Ryzen, Intel Pentium MMX, Intel i3. All these processors in a scrolling list you have to show, a drop down list you can say. Design a web page for a software company to accept online job applications. The web page must be designed to use form with elements. So you should make a form, right? Position applied for should be autofocus. You remember we have right now seen autofocus attribute also. So you whatever this text box will be, you should give it autofocus. The name, nationality, date of birth selected from an auto picker. So this should be date picker. That is input type is equal to date. Then address in a text area. So you have text area field also. Telephone number. If you want to give telephone in tel and you want to give a pattern, you can give here. Email required. So the email is required. So you can say email input type is equal to email, and you can give required as the one of the attribute. Educational history and qualification, these are the other fields. Work experience, employment, training in terms of employer history and number of years of experience selected from a slider. So slider you can create like we have seen in the earlier one, how from 0 to 10, so set maximum year of experience to 10. So you can create a slider. Then personal statement, right? Then two referees or reference names, including occupation, relationship, address, and telephone. Can you create this form? Drop down and all that. Now, if
Yes,
you have
sir.
seen, now if you have seen the form, so you can create that, right? So this was about forms, and we have seen the CSS also. Anybody is having any problem in the CSS? Any problems with that CSS?
No one.
Right, so these were the things we were talking about. Now we have to do JavaScript, HTML, DOM, right? JavaScript, HTML, DOM. So this is the next topic which we are talking about. DOM means document object model. Right, so HTML DOM, when a web page is loaded, the browser creates a DOM object model of the page. So whenever your page is loaded on the browser, so it creates a DOM, that is document object model of the page. So the DOM, HTML DOM model is constructed as a tree of objects. So whenever your page loads, so you have, for the first element is your HTML element, that is a root element in the document, right? Like a tree, it will be created. Under that root element HTML, you have child elements like head and body of under the HTML. Under the head, you have title. Under the title, you have text. Text means the title text. Whatever text you are giving in the title, that is the text. Under the body element, you have different elements like anchor tag, h1, whatever. So an anchor tag have another, and anchor tag have child elements like attribute and text, right? H1 element has attribute like text under that. Right. So with the object model, JavaScript gets all the power it needs to create dynamic HTML. Right. So JavaScript can change all the HTML elements in the page. So with the DOM, when it creates a whenever your page loads, it creates a DOM, document object model. So you have root element, then child elements under the root element. So JavaScript takes these elements, root or whatever elements, and then it can change the values of those elements. So JavaScript can change all the HTML elements in the page, right? JavaScript can change all the HTML attributes in the page. So it can change the element, it can change the attribute, can change the text also. JavaScript can change all the CSS styles on the page. JavaScript can remove existing HTML elements and attributes. JavaScript can add new HTML elements and attributes. JavaScript can react to all existing HTML elements in the page. And JavaScript can create new HTML events in the page. Right. So dynamically, now we are talking about how we can change the things in HTML page. That is what we are talking about here. Right. Now, the question arises how to change the content of HTML elements, how to change the style, how to react to HTML DOM events, and how to add and delete HTML elements. So first, they are talking about what is DOM. DOM is Document Object Model, is a W3C, that is World Wide Web Consortium standard, right? DOM defines the standard for accessing documents, right? So DOM is setting a standard if you want to access head, or if you want to access body, or if you want to access head, title, whatever. So any element you want to access, for that they have set a standard, and DOM defines that. So the W3C document object model is a platform and language neutral interface that allows programs and scripts to dynamically access and update the content, structure, and style of a document. So dynamically you are accessing the elements, and you can change the or update the structure or anything or style of the document. So W3C DOM standard is separated into three different parts: core DOM, XML DOM, HTML DOM. Core DOM standard model for all document types. Core is for standard model for all document types. XML is for XML documents. Extensible markup language is another markup language for that XML documents. XML DOM is there. HTML document standard is for HTML documents. Right. So what is HTML DOM? HTML DOM is a standard object model and programming interface for HTML. It defines the HTML elements as objects. All the things are objects in an HTML DOM, right? So the properties of all HTML elements, the methods to access all HTML elements, the events for all HTML elements. So it defines the HTML elements as objects. Then the properties also, it defines the methods and events of HTML elements, all. So, so in other words, HTML DOM is a standard for how to get, change, add, or delete HTML elements. It's a standard, right? Now, JavaScript HTML DOM methods. So you have different DOM methods also. So the HTML DOM methods are actions you can perform on HTML elements. And HTML DOM properties are values of HTML elements that you can set or change. So they are saying HTML DOM methods are actions which you can perform on the HTML elements, and values, properties are values of HTML elements that you can set or change. Right. So DOM programming interface, the HTML DOM can be accessed with JavaScript and with other programming languages, right? In DOM, all HTML elements are defined as objects. The programming interface is the properties and methods of each object. A property is a value that you can get or set, like changing the content of an HTML element. A method is an action you can do, like add or delete an HTML element. Now, for example, the following example changes the content, that is the inner HTML of P, that is paragraph element with ID demo. So here if you see HTML body, inside the body we are giving a paragraph which is having ID is equal to demo, right? And paragraph closes. And in the script, if you see, this is JavaScript. In the script we are writing document. Document means this document. Dot, there is a method called get element by ID. So get any element, paragraph element, heading element, image, whatever element, get element by ID. So by ID, if you want to get it, so the ID of that element, you have to give the name inside circular bracket in double quotes. So the name of that or ID of that paragraph is demo. So we are giving get element by ID. So we'll get that this element demo dot inner HTML. That means inside that paragraph, inner HTML means inside that paragraph element, you have to write equal to hello world. Right. So if you run it, it will display the H2 heading tag has my first page. So H2 heading tag bold, and it will display my first page. And paragraph ID, it will display this hello world in the next paragraph in demo. Right? This kind of a thing. So in the above example, get element by ID is a method. So get element by ID is a method, right? And inner HTML is the property of that method. So here if you say get element by ID method, the most common way to access an HTML element is to use the ID of the element. In the example above, the get element by ID method used ID demo to find the element, right? The inner HTML property, the easiest way to get the content of an element is by using the inner HTML property. So it will get the content or Whatever content you want to give, you can give after equal to. The inner HTML property is useful for getting or replacing the content of HTML element. Right, so inner HTML property can be used to get or change an HTML element, including HTML and body also. Right, now JavaScript HTML DOM document. So the HTML DOM document object is the owner of all other objects in your web page. So DOM object, DOM or document object is the owner of all other objects. So the HTML DOM document object represents your web page. If you want to access any element in an HTML page, you always start with accessing the document object. That's why you are writing document first. Right, below are some examples of how you can use the document object to access and manipulate HTML. So you will say document.getElement by ID, document.getElement by tag name, document.getElement by class name. So these are the different methods to get an element. So finding an element by ID, you will say getElement by ID and you will give the ID in circular brackets. If you want to find element by tag name, then get element by tag name is there. So you will write the name of that tag in the circular brackets. You can also find elements by class name, get element by class name also. So here you will give the class name. Right, now these are for finding the elements. Now to change HTML elements, what you will use, element dot inner HTML is equal to new HTML content. That means change the inner HTML element of an inner HTML of an element. Right, HTML dot attribute is equal to new value, change the attribute value of an HTML element. Element dot style dot property is equal to new style, change the style of an HTML element. So with inner HTML, you can change the content or you can access the content. New content you can give equal to element dot attribute equal to new value, so you can change the attribute value. Element dot style dot property, you can give a new style, CSS style, right? Then method element dot set attribute dot comma value, that means change the attribute value of an element. So that is set attribute. So attribute name is this, value is this, if you want to change it. Then adding and deleting elements, you have document.create element to create an HTML element, document.remove child to remove an HTML element, document.append child to add an HTML element, document.replace child to replace an HTML element, and document.write write into the HTML output stream. That is giving an output, document.write, and you will give the text here. So inside here, you will specify which element to create, which element to remove, which element to append or add, and which element. First, you will write the new element, then the old element which you want to replace. Right? Then you have adding event handlers. You have document.getElement by ID or dot onClick. So you are giving an event. OnClick is equal to function, whatever function or code you want to give. So this is how you can also add an event handler also to a HTML element. This can also be done. We'll talk about this in one by one later on also, just they are giving you different things. So finding HTML objects, the first HTML DOM level 1 1998 defined 11 HTML objects, object collection and properties. These are still valid in HTML5. Later in HTML DOM level 3, more object collection properties were added. So these are more things which are added, document.anchors, .applets, base URI, body. So there are different types. So we'll talk about them. Right. So here, this page teaches you how to find and access HTML elements in an HTML page. So finding HTML elements, often with JavaScript, you want to manipulate HTML elements. To do so, you have to find the element first. So there are several ways, like finding HTML element by ID, by tag name, by class name, by CSS selector, by HTML object collection. Right. So first, if you have to find the element by ID, which we have seen earlier also, like here we are saying constant element variable is created equal to document.getElement by ID intro, like this. So here heading 2 is a JavaScript HTML DOM, which is displayed here. Paragraph ID is equal to intro, finding HTML element by ID. Here, if you see finding HTML element by ID. Paragraph, this example demonstrate the get element by ID method. So this is displayed here. Then paragraph ID is equal to demo, and paragraph closes. And in the script, in the script, there is JavaScript constant element, a variable is created, constant variable element is equal to document dot get element by ID intro. So this one, we are getting that element in the element variable, this paragraph, right? Document dot get element by ID demo. Now we are accessing this element dot inner HTML. So in the paragraph of demo is equal to the text from the intro paragraph is plus element. In the element we are accessing this intro paragraph, paragraph intro, and it has content finding HTML element by ID. So plus element dot inner HTML, if we say, so element is accessing this and it will display this. The text from the intro paragraph is finding HTML element by ID. So if you see here, it will show you this. This is how it is accessing the element and the content of that element to get element by ID method, right? So if the element is found, the method will return the element as an object in element. If the element is not found, the element will contain null, right? Finding HTML element by tag name. Now, if you want to find the HTML element by tag name, so tag name like paragraph is the tag, right? So you will say P. You will not use less than or greater than sign, only P. So constant element is equal to document dot get element by tag name. Now you are using by tag name. So here again the paragraph is finding HTML element by tag name. This example demonstrate the tag name method. So both these are displayed here. Now paragraph ID is equal to demo. So this is there. In the script, we are writing constant element is equal to document dot get element by tag name P. Now it will access P, right? Document dot get element by ID demo. So this paragraph dot inner HTML, inside that paragraph, what we should be displayed is equal to the text in the first paragraph index 0 is. So when you are saying paragraph, you are accessing the element P. So it will access this P, this P. There are 3 paragraphs, 1, 2, 3. So which paragraph, if you want to specify? By default, to first paragraph it will take, but if you want to specify which paragraph, it is again working as an index. This will be the 0th index, this will be 1, this will be 2. Index 0 is plus element 0 like a array. So element 0 will be this paragraph. We have not given a name to this paragraph. We are accessing by the index element 0 dot inner HTML. So what it will do, the text in first paragraph index 0 is finding HTML element by tag name. Element 0 will access this first index paragraph, and dot inner HTML means it will display this like this. So tag name can also be used to access the element. The example finds the element with ID main and then finds all P elements inside main, right? So here, if you are saying constant X is equal to document dot get element by ID main, constant Y is equal to X dot get element by tag name P. So here, we have given a div ID is equal to main, finding paragraph as finding HTML element by tag name. This is an example. So this is the first division you have created. Then paragraph demo. In the script, you are writing constant X is equal to document dot get element by ID main. So it will access this division. Constant Y is equal to X dot get element by tag name P. So you are getting the element by tag name P from this X, that is this main. document dot get element by id demo dot inner html. You will in this demo paragraph, what should be displayed equal to the paragraph, first paragraph index 0 inside main is, now you will use y plus y0 dot inner html. So y0 will be the first index paragraph, so it will say finding element by tag this. So there are different ways of accessing it. Then finding HTML element by class name also you can do. If you want to find an HTML element with the same class name, use get element by class name. So here we are saying constant x is equal to document dot get element by class name intro, right? So here paragraph is there. P class is equal to intro hello world. So there is apart from ID, you can also give class attribute also in the paragraph. So class is equal to intro hello world. P class is equal to intro. This example demonstrates. So there are both these class have name as intro in the paragraph, and you have ID demo paragraph. Then in the script you are saying constant x is equal to document dot get element by class name intro. So it will access this document dot get element by id demo dot inner html is equal to, now intro, there are two paragraph with the same name intro. The first paragraph index 0 with class is equal to intro is plus, so in the x you are accessing that, so x0 dot inner html, so it will display the first one, right? The first index 0 with class intro is this, so it will access the first one, right? Then you can also find HTML element by CSS selectors also. If you want to find all HTML elements that match a specified CSS selector ID, class name, type, attribute, values of attributes, etc., use the query selector all method. This example returns a list of all paragraph elements with class intro. So here you will say constant x is equal to document dot query selector all p dot intro. So here paragraph is there, finding HTML element by query selector. P class is equal to intro hello world. P class is equal to intro. This example demonstrate query selector all method. Paragraph demo is also created. Then in the script you are saying constant x is equal to document dot query selector all p dot intro, right? Document dot get element by id demo dot inner html here equal to the first paragraph index 0 with class intro is plus x0 dot inner html. So this will also access all paragraphs, but it will say the first paragraph with the class intro p dot intro. Here you are writing p dot intro. So the first class with the index intro, class intro, will be accessed like this x0 dot inner html. Again, you have two paragraphs with class intro, so you can access that also. Finding HTML element by HTML object collection also. So this example finds a form element with ID form1 in the form collection and display all element values. So here constant x is equal to document dot forms form1. Let x is equal to empty text. For let I is equal to 0, I less than x dot length. X dot length will display the length of the this form, semicolon I plus plus. So for loop they have applied. Now here they have used initialize the variable, and then up to the length of the form they are saying in x you are accessing the document, the full form, and up to the length of the form you will run this loop. Text plus is equal to, in the text you are adding what, x dot element I dot value, right? First value x dot, x is the form element, dot element I, right? Dot value plus, so one by one all the values will be taken in the text, and after each line break, right? Then you close the loop. Then document dot get element by id demo dot inner is equal to text. So if you see here, there in the form, this is the form you have created. The ID of the form is form frm1. first name input, first name you have written an input type, input box is created with the value Donald. Last name input box is created with the value duck, and a submit button is created. This is a form you have created here. Right now, paragraph, these are the values of each element in the form. So paragraph ID demo. So this is a paragraph you are made with ID demo. There is no content in that. Then the script is written that constant x, a variable constant variable x is created equal to document.forms form1. So this form is accessed here. Document.form form1 is accessed in x. Let text is equal to empty. For let I is equal to 0, I less than x dot length, that is this full form, right? I plus plus. Text plus is equal to x dot element I dot value. So the first element value is Donald. Then next line, next element value is duck, right? So is there, and next value is submit also, if you see here, right? That is accessed for the full form. Then after accessing everything in the text, then document dot get element by id demo dot inner html. In this, what should be displayed? The text. So one by one, Donald, duck, and submit is displayed according to the loop. So you can do like this also. The object collections, different object values can also be taken care of. So if you see here, use the get element by id method to find the paragraph element and change the text to hello. Okay, so here you will say document dot get element by id, and here you will give demo, right? So this is what the answer should be. This is the answer, document dot get element by id demo dot inner html. So dot inner html I forgot. So this is how you will give it. So here should be dot inner html. Right? Then JavaScript HTML DOM, changing HTML now. The HTML DOM allows JavaScript to change the content of HTML elements. So changing HTML content, the easiest way to modify the content of an HTML element is by using the inner HTML property. To change the content of an HTML element, use this syntax, document.getElement by ID, and circular bracket ID should be given, dot inner HTML is equal to new HTML. So whatever value you will give here will be changed. So like in this paragraph ID is P1, hello world is given. Now if in the script I say document dot get element by ID P1, so I will access this paragraph dot inner HTML. So what should be changed? New text. So instead of hello one, it will display new text. So here it was hello world in the paragraph, but in the script we are saying that change it to new text, so it will display new text, not hello world. Right? This is how you change it. The HTML document above contains a paragraph element with ID P1. We use the HTML DOM to get the element with ID P1. A JavaScript changes the content inner HTML of that element to new text. Right? Now in this example, the content of H1 element is changing. So H1 ID, we have given ID 01, and the content is old heading in the heading 1. In the script, we are writing constant element. You can say ABC, whatever variable you want to create. Element is equal to document.getElement by ID 01. So it will access this heading 1. Element, this element, now you are accessing this in element dot inner HTML is equal to new heading. So here, instead of old heading, it will display new heading like this. So it will display new heading in the heading 1 instead of old heading. Right? Then so again the same thing is there. So you can either give in one line like this, dot inner HTML is equal to, or you can separate it like this, constant. First you access the element in a variable, And that variable dot inner HTML is this way also. In one line also you can give, in this way also you can give. Now changing the value of an attribute. To change the value of an HTML attribute uses syntax document.getElementBy ID, id.attribute is equal to new value. So now you are getting the element by ID dot attribute, whatever attribute. Like image element is there. Now we want to change the source attribute of that image. So image ID is equal to my image. This is the ID of this image, and the source is smiley.gif. The path of the image is here. So the name of the image is smiley.gif. Now I want to change this source. So I will say document.getElementBy ID, my image. So I will get this dot src, the source, right, equal to landscape.jpg. I've changed the image name from this to this. So now if I run it, right, earlier it was smiley, whatever. Now it is landscape.jpg, whatever the image is. So that will be displayed here. Right? So dynamic HTML content. JavaScript can create dynamic HTML content also. So like today's date is this, if you see, whatever, right? Now we are saying HTML bodies, in the script we are saying document.getElementBy ID demo.inner HTML is equal to date colon plus date. So date will be today's date, semicolon, right? Today's date will be, this is an inbuilt function of JavaScript. Date is the inbuilt function. So document.getElementBy ID demo.inHTML is equal to date. So in this ID, paragraph ID demo, what should be displayed? Today's date. So date is given in double quote. So this is printed here, colon, and plus date. This is the function which will display today's date and time here. Right? So you remember to put semicolon, because in JavaScript you have to put semicolon, not in HTML, but in JavaScript you have to. Then document.write method is also there. In JavaScript, document.write can be used to write directly to the HTML output stream on the page. That means, so here HTML P paragraph you are saying blah blah blah, and in the script you are saying document.write date, right? And again a paragraph blah blah blah. So document.write, so in between blah 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 there will be date which will be printed here. So here date is printed in between this, both these paragraphs. Document.write. So this is another thing you can use to write on the output stream directly. So here they are saying use HTML DOM to change the value of the image source attribute. So here it should be dot src. So document.getElementBy ID image src is equal to pick mountain, like that. So if we say that is correct, right? Next, JavaScript form validation. Now HTML form validation can be done by JavaScript. So if a form field is empty, this function alerts a message and returns false to prevent the form being submitted. So here if you see, we have created a function validate form, right? Curly bracket, let x is equal to document.forms, my form. This is the name of the form. First name, f name dot value, that is the input type of first name dot value, right? You will access it in x. So from the document, from forms, that is my form, you will access the first name value and you will put it in x, right? So x is having the first name value. If that x is equal to empty, alert name must be filled out, return false. Double quote means empty, two double quote means empty. So you are alerting that your name should be filled out and return false. So here your form name is my form, action pay is there, on submit return validate form. That means you have to return the function, return the value of the function from this function validate form. So this is on submit. So this is another attribute you can add, on submit return validate method equal to post, input name, input type text, name first name, right? So this name is there, input type submit. So here whatever name I give here in the input. So this the in the head we in HTML head we have written the script, the function validate form. Let x is this. It will access the value in x. If x is empty, alert must name must be filled out. Return false. So in the body, head is closed, and in the body we are saying JavaScript validation. So it is printing here in H2 JavaScript validation, and then we are creating a form with the name my form action, and on submit return validate form. That means you have to return the value of this function, right? So method is post name. So you have created a name label, and then input type is equal to text box you have created, and the name of that text box is f name. Input type is equal to submit, value is submit. So here submit button is created. If we have given br here, so this submit would have come down, but we have not given br, so it is coming with the text box only, and form is closed. So now when I give something, suppose I give this name, right, and submit. So it will submit the form, right? If I run it again and I don't give anything, so on submit, it will return, when I submit, it will go to validate form function, and I have, it will collect the value from the from this form first name value. So there is no value given here. In X it is empty. If X is empty, it will give me an alert box, name must be filled out. So this alert box will be given to me. If I fill a name, so now return false will not be there. There is a value, so it will return true here, and it will take the value and on the action page it will display the value here, right? That is what, how validation we can do, right? JavaScript can validate numeric input also. JavaScript is often used to validate numeric input. Please input numbers between 1 and 10. So if I put 2, it will take it, right? If I put 11, it will not take it, because from 1 to 10 I can give a value. It will not take 11, right? And also if I put a variable or any string, it will say not valid, right? So how we have given that? First H2 in heading 2 we are saying JavaScript validation, and paragraph we are saying please input a number between 1 and 10, and we are creating an input ID is equal to num. So this is input with ID num, input box. Button type is equal to button. So this button we have created. On click, on this button, on click is equal to my function. So this function will be called on the click of this button, and the name of the button we have given submit, right? And we have closed the button. Then paragraph ID is equal to demo, right? So this is a paragraph we have created. In the script we have written function my function. So we are creating a function here in JavaScript. Let x is equal to document dot get element by id num dot value. So what we are saying, in x we are getting document dot get element by id. So this input type button input type text box, input type, this input id is equal to num. So in this text box we are getting a num this num text box dot value. So whatever value we give here will be accessed in x here, right? Let text, so we are creating a variable text. If is nan x, is nan is a function, inbuilt function of JavaScript, which checks whether this is a number or not a number. Is nan is not a number. So x is not a number, or this is the logical operator, or x is less than 1, or x is greater than 10. So we are checking whether it is a number or not first. If it is not a number x, or x is less than 1, because your input should be from 1 to 10 and no other alphabet or anything should be there. So if, first we are checking that it is not a number. Is it a character? Or x is less than 1, it's not greater than 1, or is it greater than 10? So if these are there, then text is equal to input not valid. and if it is not apart from this, that means it is a number, it is greater than 1 and it is less than equal to 10, greater than equal to 1 and less than equal to 10, then in else text is equal to input okay. Right? Document dot get element by id demo, here dot inner html is equal to text will be displayed. So if I'm saying 4, so it will submit input okay. And if I give anything apart from greater than this or less than 1, it will say input not valid. Even if I give some string or characters, it will say input not valid. So this is another way of checking validation, right? Then automatic HTML form validation. HTML form validation can be performed automatically by the browser. If a form field is empty, the required attribute prevents a form from being submitted. So you can also give required instead of this code which we had given, where if your text box is empty, then alert must be name must be filled. So you can use required also, and you don't just, if you don't fill anything and you click on submit, then it will say fill out this field. So required is one which does that, right? So automatic HTML form validation does not work in Internet Explorer 9 or earlier. That is previous versions of Internet Explorer. The required was not working, but now the new browsers have this required feature. Then data validation is the process of ensuring that user input is clean, correct, and useful. Typical validation task has the name user filled in all required fields, has the user entered a valid date, has the user entered text in a numeric field. Most often, the purpose of data validation is to ensure correct user input. Validation can be defined by many different methods and deployed in many different ways. So you have server-side validation, which is performed by web server after input has been sent to the server, and client-side validation is performed by web browser before input is sent to a web server. So this is what client-side and server-side validation is. So HTML constraint validation, HTML5 introduced a new HTML validation concept called constraint validation. Constraint validation is based on constraint validation HTML input attributes, constraint validation CSS pseudo selectors, constraint validation DOM properties and methods. So you have constraint validation like disabled, max.
Ma'am, just sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you. So when we are doing the JavaScript validation, when we are doing on the client side validation, right?
yes, on the web browser. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Before
And when we
submitting before submitting to the server, we are validating that this thing should be validated on the browser and then go on to the server.
and when we will be doing the web server kind of validation, what the language normally used, madam?
You can use JavaScript only, but that will be on the web server, not on the browser.
Okay. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Right? Then you have different constraint validation HTML input attributes. So you have disabled, max, min, pattern, required, type, which we have seen earlier also. So these attributes validation you can do, like you want to disable an input element, or you want to set a maximum or minimum values for an element, or you can set a pattern, which we have seen earlier also, right? So this is also there. And pseudo selectors are also there, colon disable, colon invalid. So you can go for this full list here or here, input validation, just an example we are giving. Then they are talking about JavaScript HTML DOM changing CSS. So the HTML DOM allows JavaScript to change the style of an HTML element also. That means your CSS style can also be changed. To change the style of an HTML element using what you will do is document.getElement by ID dot style dot property is equal to new style. So here the paragraph style they want to change it. So here paragraph ID is P2 and content here is given hello world. In the script, you are writing document.getElement by ID P2. So you are accessing this paragraph. Dot style dot color is equal to blue. So that means this hello world should be displayed in blue color. So this P1, P1, sorry, P2. P2 1. P1 is normal. And the second paragraph, P2, style color is equal to blue, they have done. Then get element by ID P2, style dot font family is equal to Arial, font is Arial for P2. Then P2 dot style dot font size is equal to larger. You can, instead of larger, you can also give in pixels also the size. So this is there. So you can give the color, font family, font size for style dot that property. Then using HTML events. So the HTML DOM allows you to execute code when an event occurs. Events are generated by the browser then when things happen to HTML elements. So an element is clicked on, the page is loaded, input fields are changed. So these are the events. What you want, what happened or things happen to the HTML elements. So when you click an HTML element, what should be done when the page is loaded? What should be done when input fields are changed? What should be done? Events, right? Somebody is asking something. Whose mic is on? Prashant, are you asking something? Prashant, can I mute it? Okay. So here in the example, the style of HTML element ID is equal to ID1 when the user clicks a button. So if you see here, heading 1 ID is ID1. The content is my heading 1 here in the heading 1. Button type, we have created a button type is equal to button on click. So on click event of the button equal to document dot get element by ID ID1 dot style dot color is equal to red. So you can give the code for your JavaScript code here. On click, what should be done? So what you are doing is this heading 1 has heading like my heading 1, and when you click on the button, you will access this heading 1 ID, and the style and color of that heading 1 will change to red like this. So on the event you are giving the JavaScript code. That is what event handler is doing. Right? There are more examples also. So you can go, you can also access here a function like we had done earlier also in the previous example in the forms also. You can say button type is equal to button on click is equal to, you can call a function here, and the function can be created in the script in this. Here you can have a script here written here, and inside that script you will write the function code, and you are calling the function here. That can also be done. Right, so that is also there. So here they are saying change the text color of paragraph element to red. So what you will do is document dot get element by ID demo dot style dot color is equal to red. Right, that is what you can do. Then JavaScript HTML DOM animation also you can do a basic to demonstrate how to create HTML animation with JavaScript. We will use a simple web page. So here heading 1 is my first JavaScript animation. Div ID animation, my animation will go here, right? So they are giving just an example. So here for that, all animation should be relative to a container element. So container is always a div. Right, so div id is equal to container, div id is equal to animate, like that. Then style the elements. The container element should be created with style position relative. The animation element should be created with style position absolute. So the container element will have a style like position relative, and an animation element will have style absolute. So here container in the style in a style element in the container is having width 400, height 400 pixels, position relative. So the container element will have position relative, and background color as yellow, and animate element animate element should have width and height 50 pixel, 50 pixel, position absolute, background red. Right. So if you see here, so in we have in the HTML, we have created a style element. You can see here, style and hash container. So I have with the hash, we are accessing the container, which is div. Div ID is container, right? So container width is 400 pixel, height is 400 pixel. So this 400 pixel box is created. Position relative, background yellow, and that is closed. And then hash animate. So animate is another div. This one is animate. In that we have width 50 pixel, height 50 pixel. So this one is animate, position absolute, background red, like this. This is created. Just an example they have given you. So for this you have created a div with ID container, div with ID animate. So this div is container and this div is animate. Right? Now animation code. So this is not actually required in your syllabus, but just an example for that we are just seeing is JavaScript animations are done by programming gradual changes in an element style. The changes are called by a timer. When the timer interval is small, the animation looks continuous. So here ID is equal to set interval. Set interval is uh, uh, built-in function where you are giving frame comma 5, and function frame here, this is a function you are calling if clear interval ID. So clear interval, whatever ID you are giving, else some code style is given here. So here function my move they are creating, let ID is equal to null, constant element is equal to document dot get element by ID animate, let position is equal to 0, clear interval ID is equal to set interval frame 5, function frame if pos is equal to 350, clear interval ID, else position plus plus element dot style dot top is equal to position plus px, element dot style dot left position plus px. So position will keep on increasing if it is less than 3, it is not equal to 350, it will keep on increasing the position top and left, right? Otherwise, when it reaches 350, it will clear the interval ID, something like that. So if you click this button, first the container and animate have been created here. If you see here, a button is on click. My move function is called here on this click me button. So the my move is a function in the script. Then in the div container and div animate have been created with this styles. Background and position styles. Now the function let id is equal to null. First it is null. Constant lm is equal to document dot get element by id animate. So it will access this animate here, this division, which is this one, right? Let position is equal to 0. Initially pos is 0. Clear interval id, right? So so the interval clear interval id will clear whatever values are there in the here, right? Id, then id is equal to set interval. Now for this id the interval is set frame comma 5, right? And the frame is another function frame if position is equal to 350. If your position is 350, then clear interval id, then it will come back here only. Else position plus plus, it will keep on increasing the position. Element dot style dot top is equal to pos plus px, element dot style dot left is equal to position dot px. So it will keep on increasing the left and top position. So if I click it like this, it will keep on going like this. Just an example they have given you, right? So this is how they are animating the things. For example, they have given you, right? Then JavaScript HTML DOM events. Now, HTML DOM allows JavaScript to react to HTML elements. Mouse over, right? So if you if you keep the mouse over this box, so it is displaying thank you, and if you remove it, it again displays mouse over me. Then when you click this, it is saying click me, you click it, it will say click me again. So you can click it, then it is saying thank you. So these kind of things, if you want. So reacting to events, a JavaScript can be executed when an event occurs, like when a user clicks on an HTML element. To execute code when a user clicks on an HTML on an element, add JavaScript code to an HTML event attribute. So on click is equal to JavaScript, right? Like that. So example of HTML elements: when a user clicks a mouse, when a web page has loaded, when an image has been loaded, when the mouse moves over an element, when an input field is changed, when an HTML form is submitted, when a user strokes a key. So these are the different events, right? Now here, heading 1, on click, this is inner HTML is equal to oops, click on this text. So here, this whatever heading we are creating, click on this text means on click, this will it will come to oops. So if on click attribute, so click on this. If I click on this text, this is not a text box, but I have created a, in the heading, that in on the text, if you click it, on click, it will change to oops. So if I click here, it will change to oops. So this is an event you are doing. This dot inner HTML is equal to oops, in double quotes you have written. This means on this heading dot inner HTML, change it to oops, equal to oops. So the content has been changed according to the event. Right. Another example here, they are saying h1 on click is equal to change text this. So change text is a function you have created. Here you have directly this dot inner, directly you have given here. Now you are saying change text this. Click on this text. So here you have created a script. Inside the script you are making this function change text, function change text ID. So ID of this heading 1 will be put here. ID dot inner HTML is equal to oops. So this way also you can do it. So here h2 on click is equal to change text this, right? This means this heading. So it is calling this function change text ID. So the ID of the h2 will be here, and ID dot inner HTML is equal to oops. So when you click on this, it will change to oops. So anyway you can do it. You can give a function also, or this also. HTML event attributes. To assign events to HTML elements, you can use event attributes also, like here, function on click is equal to display date, right? So in the above example, a function named display date will be executed when the button is clicked. So here, you are saying JavaScript HTML events, heading 1, heading 2 is on click attribute. Then paragraph is click the button to display the date, right? Then you have created a button, on click is equal to display date. This function will be called when you click on this button. This, the time is when you click on this button, this function is called in. So this, in the script you are writing function display date, document dot get element by ID demo, right? So you will here in the demo, dot inner HTML is equal to date, right? So this date inbuilt date function is called. So when you click it in, and in the below paragraph in the demo, that today's date and time will be displayed. This kind of a thing. Right, assign events using the HTML DOM. The HTML DOM allows you to assign events to HTML elements using JavaScript. So assign an on-click event to a button element. So here you are saying document.getElement by ID, whatever ID you are accessing, dot on-click is equal to display date. This way also you can give. So here now this is a paragraph demo, right? This is a button ID, my button, try it, right? This you have given. So you have heading 1, heading 2, paragraph, button, and a paragraph demo. In the script, you are saying document.getElement by ID, my button. So you are accessing this button. Dot on click is equal to display date. So you are accessing this button, and on click of that button event equal to display date. So this remember here you are not putting circular bracket. So inside that, then function display date function is made, document.getElement by ID demo.inDate. So when you click on this try it button, right, on the click of this, the today's date will be displayed. This way also you can show it, right? So in the above example, a function name display date is assigned to an HTML element with the ID equal to my button. The function will be executed when the button is clicked. Then you have onload and on unload. Onload and on unload events. The onload and on unload events are triggered when the user enters or leaves a page. So onload means when you enter the page, and on unload means when you exit the page, right? The onload event can be used to check the visitor's browser type and browser version and load the proper version of the web page based on the information. The onload and on unload events can be used to deal with cookies. So here body onload is equal to check cookies, right? So here uh, body on load in the body of body element, on load is equal to check cookies function is called. Heading 1 is JavaScript HTML element, heading 2 is the onload attribute, paragraph ID demo is a paragraph created, and in the script you are making the function check cookies. Let text is equal to empty text equal to double quotes. If navigator dot check cookie enabled is equal to true, this is a navigator is a browser dot cookie enabled. Whether the browser has enabled cookie, so this is an inbuilt function of the this navigator dot cookie enabled is equal to true. Text is equal to cookies are enabled. Else text is equal to cookies are not enabled. Right. Then you are saying document dot get element by ID demo dot inner HTML equal to text. So it will display whether cookies are enabled. So here it is saying cookies are enabled on load. Why? Because cookies must be, so it is checking whether the cookie enable function is true or not. If it is true, then it will say cookies are enabled. Otherwise, it will say cookies are not enabled. So this onload event is used to check whether cookies are enabled or not. So that is there. Then you have on input event also. On input event is often used for some action while the user input data on input. Below is an example how to use the on input to change the content of an input field. So input type is equal to text ID f name on input you uppercase. So uppercase function is called here on input, right? So here heading 1 is JavaScript HTML events. Heading 2 is the on input attribute. Enter your name and you have created a text box. Input type text ID f name on input uppercase. When you write in the input field, a function is triggered to transform the input to uppercase. This paragraph is written here. In the script, you are making this function uppercase on input, function uppercase, constant x is equal to document dot get element by ID f name. So you will access this input box. X dot value is equal to x dot value dot to uppercase. So this is an inbuilt function of string x dot value dot to uppercase. So whatever you are inputting, suppose you are inputting in small case, it will automatically be input in uppercase in the text box. So whenever you are typing in the text box, it will call this function uppercase, and whatever you type, first it is accessing this text box, and then it is converting the value in the text box to uppercase, x dot value dot to uppercase. So whatever you are inputting will be put in uppercase. Right? So this kind of a thing. So on input is also there. On change event is also there. On change event is often used in combination with validation of input fields. Below is an example of how to change the on change. The uppercase function will be called when a user changes the content of an input field. So input type text IDs, again the same function is there. So here on change uppercase. When you leave the input field, a function transforms the input to uppercase. So again, now we have not used on input, we have used on change. Now what will happen? I am writing something in small case. I have written something in small case, but when I click outside, it will automatically convert to uppercase. This can also be done. This is known as on change. So whatever you write in the text box, whether in uppercase, whether in small case, it is calling this function and it will change that function to on change. So when you change the content of the thing, so you are writing something in small case and you click outside, it will automatically change to uppercase. This is not on input, this is on change. So this is another event. Then on mouse over and on mouse events are also there. So on mouse over and on mouse out events can be triggered to trigger a function when the mouse moves over or out of an HTML element. So if you see, if I'm outside, it is mouse over me. When you move the mouse over it, it is thank you. Again, it comes back. So how it is done is div. They have created a div, a division. On mouse over is the event is equal to mover this. So this is a function they are calling. On mouse out is equal to m out this. So it is calling m out function. So style, they have also given the style for this division is equal to background color. The color in hexadecimal they have given the color. You can give red also. Width is 120 pixel, height is 20 pixel, padding is 40 pixels. Padding means the content spacing will be there to the borders, and mouse over me is written on that division. Right now in the script we are calling mouse over this. So function m over is made and obj object is passed here. This means this division object, right? So object dot inner HTML is equal to thank you. So whenever your mouse moves over your this division, the inner HTML will change to thank you. And in mouse out, whenever you takes out your mouse from that division, then object dot inner HTML will change to mouse over me again. So I take the mouse here, it will say thank you. I'll take out here, it will again say mouse over this way. Right? So this is it. Then on mouse down, on mouse up, and on click events. So mouse on mouse down, mouse up, and on click events are all part of a mouse click. First, when a mouse button is clicked, the on mouse down event is triggered. When you click the mouse, it is on mouse down event. Then when the mouse button is released, the mouse up event is triggered. Finally, when the mouse click is completed, on click event is triggered. So down is release. Now I have not released the mouse. So I release it, it is saying thank you. Completed. Right? So div on mouse down, you are calling m down this, m on mouse up, you are calling m up this, and style and background again for the division they have created. This is what they have created. In the script, function m down obj is this division only. Obj dot style dot background color is equal to, so the color also changes from red to some other color. In hexadecimal they have given object dot inner HTML is equal to release me will be there. And when you on mouse up, when you release, then background color will change to back to whatever was the original color, and object dot inner HTML is equal to thank you will be done. So I click it. I have not released it yet. So now if I release it, it will come back to thank you again. Right? So earlier it was click me. So earlier it was click me. Here it was click me. I click this, and I'm not release the mouse. So it is saying release me, which is the blue color one, right? And when I release it, it comes here, mouse up, thank you. So these are the different events they have given you, right? You can go for more events also, on load, on focus, mouse event. There are more events also. I'm just giving you some examples. Then JavaScript HTML DOM event listener is also there. So the add event listener method. So first, I'm just going to your this JavaScript. So this is session number 4. So here you have WCC DOM categorized core DOM, which we have seen already. HTML DOM, how you write that, we have seen that, right? DOM methods and properties we were seeing, inner HTML and whatever attribute and all that, right? The document.getElementById we have seen. So write a HTML code with JavaScript in which the contents of the paragraph element change. So here the para one change on click event. So on click a function is called here. So the text is changed like that. Click here to change this text. A text is changed will be written later on when you click it. Updating style of an HTML element. Style dot property is equal to new style. So that we have already done that. Right now, the exercise of this one says design an HTML page using JavaScript as shown below. When try button is pressed, the full name should be shown below the try button, like this. So you have first name Bhagat, last name Singh. When you click on this button, click on try button to show the value of the elements in the form. When you click on this button, it should be shown like this, Bhagat Singh. Can you show it? Anybody? See, first you create this form. First you create this first name and a text box, last name and a text box with value Bhagat and Singh, and a button you will create try. When you click on this button, document.getElementById, this paragraph will display Bhagat and this paragraph will display in dot inner HTML is equal to value of this and value of this. Can you do it? Class? Any problems in this? Any problems, class? Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So this is one example. Then modify the below snippet of the code to change the source attribute of the image element to pqr.jpg using HTML DOM. So now your image ID is pic and source is old.jpg. And in the script, what will you write? What will you write to change the source?
Get element by ID. So ID will be
Right.
pic dot src equal to new
Right.
image.
pqr.jpg, right? So that you have to give. Then write the JavaScript code to change the color of the HTML element H2 to green on the click the change color button. Can you do it? There is a change color button will be there. On click of that button, the heading to element will have green color. So style.color is equal to green. Can you give that? Document.getElementById and get the
Yeah.
element by ID and dot style.color is equal to what green you can give, right?
Yes.
Then this is one thing. Then here they are saying JavaScript, HTML, DOM, events, and event listener. So we will be doing event listener right now. I'm just going through this. So we have seen the different events which are there. So write a JavaScript code to change the contents of an element like header tag or paragraph tag or a division tag, etc. when user clicks on it. So here the paragraph on click, they are calling a function. Click here. In the function, they are saying para1 dot inner HTML, which is this one, is equal to this change text after click. Right. So if you click here, so it will display. This is change text after click. Right. Instead of click here, this will be displayed. That is what they are telling you. Then adding an event listener. So now we will be doing event listener. So we'll go to go to our content back. So event listener, to add an event listener method, what you can add an event listener that fires when a user clicks a button. So document.getElementById dot add event listener, click and display date. So add event listener, you will add an event, that is click event, and the function on which the when you click that, what function will be called, you are giving here. So this is how you can add an event listener. So here you are creating a heading, JavaScript, add event listener, then a paragraph you are writing, then a button ID is equal to my button, try it. This button is created here. Now this button, we have not written what function or what on click event, nothing we have mentioned in the button. paragraph ID demo, an empty paragraph we have created. Then script, inside the script we are saying document.getElement by ID my button. So we are accessing this, and we are saying dot add event listener. Now we are adding an event to this button, add event listener. Click is the event we are adding to this button, and what function will be called to this click event will be display date. And display date, we are creating a function here, function display date. Document.getElement by ID demo.innerHTML is equal to today's date will be displayed. So here, this display date, remember there is no circular bracket ahead of the display date. Without that circular bracket, you have to write the name of the function here. And here you have to write the circular brackets here. Right, now if you click on this, it will display the date in here in the paragraph demo. The date and time will be displayed, something like that. So this is how you add an event to a particular element. So add event listener method attaches an event handler to the specified element. The add event listener method attaches an event handler to an element without overwriting existing event handlers. You can add many event handlers to one element. So what they are saying, if even if you have an earlier event to an event is added, suppose in the button, this on the button also there was an event here, and you can also add another event also with add event listener. Here also you have on click event, here also you can add another event. That is what they are saying. Is somebody is asking something? Okay. So this is one of the things they are talking about. So you can add many event handlers to one element. You can add many event handlers. You can add many event handlers of the same type to one element. That is, two click events can also be added to one element. You can add event handlers to any DOM object, not only HTML element, that is window object also. Right. So the add event listener method makes it easier to control how the event reacts to bubbling. Right. When using the add event listener method, the JavaScript is separated from HTML markup for better readability and allow you to add event listeners even when you do not control the HTML markup. So you can easily remove an event listener by the remove event listener method. So how you add is element.add event listener. You will give the event, the function, and you can also give use capture. We have not given use capture in the earlier example. Now the first parameter is of the type like event type like click, mouse down. When we use directly in the element, we say on click, on mouse down, on mouse up, on input, on change, right? You will not write on in this. You will only write click, mouse down, mouse up, change, whatever. On will not be written in this when you are saying add event listener. So in the event, you will not use on click or on mouse down. You will write click, mouse down, mouse up, change, right? That way. The second parameter, which is a function, we want to call when the when the event occurs. So whatever function you want to call will be written here. The third parameter is a Boolean value specifying whether to use event bubbling or event capturing. This parameter is optional, right? So we'll talk about event bubbling and event capturing, what that means. We'll talk about that in the later sections. So note that you don't use the on prefix for the event, use click instead of on click. I told you only use the event. Don't use on before that. So add an event handler to an element. You will say element dot add event listener. Click is the event, and whatever function you want to call. So here we are saying function alert hello world. Directly you can give this is that function is not named. So you can also refer to an external named function also. So external name function will be like this, that there is a function. So we are saying function my function alert hello world. You can directly give a function here, or you can also give a function name and define the function later on. It is the same. Here you are not giving any function name. You're simply saying function alert hello world. So when you click here, so this is the button. document dot get element by id my button, you are accessing this. Dot event listener, you are adding click event, and the function is called alert hello world directly here. So when you click it, so message box or an alert box is there, hello world, right? So this is how you can add an event listener. You can also add event like this also. So here you are saying get element by id my button dot add event listener, click, and you are calling the function my function. So you're creating function my function alert hello world. This is a function body you have created inside the script. When you call it again, it will call the alert box. This way also you can create it, right? Then add many event handlers to the same element. Now we can add many event handlers to the same element. So add event listener method allows you to add many events to the same element without overwriting existing events. So you can say element dot add event listener, click my function, element dot add event listener, click my second function. So if you run this, if you see this, a button ID, my button, this is the button we have created. Now in the script, we are saying where x is equal to document.getElement by ID my button. So we are accessing the button here in x. Now that means we access it. Then we are saying x dot add event listener. We are adding the event to this button. Click my function. This is a name of the function. And another event handler is also added. X dot add event listener. Click some other function. This is other function name. So the first function is my function we have created, alert hello world, and another function is some other function alert. This function was also executed. So two functions have been created. Both are click functions, right? Click events. So first we are saying hello world. When we say okay, it will also display the function was also executed. Both the functions are executed. So you added two functions to it, right? You can add events of different types to the same element, like if element dot add event listener mouse over, click mouse out. Three events are added. So you can add different events also. So here x is equal to document dot get element by id my button. So you're accessing this button. X dot add event listener mouse over my function. X dot add event listener click my second function. X dot add event listener mouse out my third function. Three functions are made for this element button, my button. So first is my function, which is document dot get element by id dot inner html plus is equal to mouse over, right? That means whenever I put my mouse on that, it will say in the in the this paragraph, it will display in the demo paragraph. It will first plus is equal to means first move over, then again next next line it will again whatever mouse out when you take out the mouse. So this mouse out third my function is called document.getElement by id dot inner html plus is equal to mouse out. So when I take my mouse out from the tryout, then mouse out is printed. So all the things are printed because plus is equal to is used. So mouse over, then I take out my mouse, then mouse out. And when I click, I have not clicked yet. When I click on the mouse, it will call this function, my second function, document.getElement by id.demo.inHTML plus is equal to clicked. So when I click it, it will say clicked, and when I take out the mouse, it will say mouse out. So it will keep on showing with plus, it will keep on showing the different outputs which are there. So you are calling different events also, mouse over, mouse out also. So add an event handler to the window object also. Add event handler method allows you to add event handlers on any HTML DOM object such as HTML elements, HTML document, the window object, or other objects that supports events like XML HTTP request object also. So here window.add event listener resize function document.add element by id demo.inHTML is equal to some text. So here what they are saying is You are resizing try resizing this browser window to trigger the resize event handler. So paragraph ID is demos. In the script, we are saying window dot event listener resize function document dot get element by ID dot inner math dot random number is printed here. If you see here, any random number. If I run it again, some random number is printed here. Right? So this is how they are showing is. You can also do that. Then you can also pass parameters also. When passing parameter values, use an anonymous function that calls a specified function with the parameters. So you'll say element dot add event listener click function, and here you are passing another name of the function, my function, and p1 p2 are the parameters. So if you see here, this is a button, this is demo. Then in the script, you are writing that P1 is equal to 5, let P2 is equal to 7. So P1 and P2 values have been set. Then document dot get element by ID my button. So you are accessing this my button dot add event listener. Click event is added to this button, comma function. And inside that function, you are calling my function. P1, P2 is passed here. 5 and 7 will be passed here, pass by value. And here function, my function A and B, that means 5 and 7 will be are passed here. Document dot get element by ID demo dot inner HTML A into B will be printed. That means 5 into 7, 35 will be printed here in the paragraph. Something like that. So you can also pass parameters, but in the function, you have to pass the name of the function with parameter like that. Right now, what we were talking about event bubbling or event capturing, right? The third parameter which you can give apart from click and name of the function, and you can give the Boolean value of this event bubbling or event capturing. So this is optional, but what is that? There are two types of event propagation in HTML DOM: bubbling and capturing. Event propagation is a way of defining the element order when an event occurs. If you have a paragraph element inside a div element and the user clicks on paragraph element, which elements click event should be handled first. So they are saying in the paragraph element also you have a click, and a div also you have a click. But div inside the div you have the paragraph element, right? So which click event will be handled first? That is what this bubbling or event capturing does. So in bubbling, the innermost elements event is handled first, and then the outer. The paragraph element click event is handled first, then the div elements click event. That is known as bubbling. So innermost is handled first. And capturing, the outermost elements event is handled first, and then the inner. That means first div is handled, and then paragraph click event is handled. So this is the difference. So with the add event listener method, you can specify the propagation type by using the use capture parameter. So add event listener, event function, and use capture. So the default value is false, which will use the bubbling propagation. That means if you say false, that means by default it is false. So that means bubbling is there. That means innermost is first clicked, and then the outermost. Right? When the value is set to true, event using the capturing propagate. So if you say true instead of by default it is false. If you don't say anything, it is false. If you say true, that means capturing. That means outermost is click event is run first, then innermost. Right? So if you see here, so this is the div, the style of div 1 and div 2 is background color, coral and padding. Both div have the same color, and the padding also. And the background color is white of paragraph 1 and paragraph 2, and font size is border is this. So this both the paragraphs have this style, right? Then uh, here JavaScript div ID my div 1. So this is the first div. This is bubbling. So bubbling means first inner element is click event is access, and outer. So paragraph ID is P1 click me, right? And div this div 2 This is handling capturing. That means outer element. Paragraph 2 is given here, right? So in the script we are saying document dot get element by ID my p1, right? This paragraph 1 we are accessing first. Add event listener, click function alert, you click the white element. Or here the capturing is false. False means first inner element is the click the white element, right? And then div1 is there, document dot element id add dot event listener, click function. So when you clicked here and you clicked OK, then automatically it will say you click the orange element, because both have click events. First this will be inner element is white one will be there, then orange element, right? And when you click on P2, it has again P2 has a click event, and my div2 also have a click event. So when you click on this, even if you click on this, first it will say you click the orange element, then it will say you click the white element, right? Because the capturing one is true here. Where it is true, it is capturing that. That means outer element click element first, and the inner element. And when you by default it is false only bubbling. So when you click here, it will say inner element first, white element first, and then the orange. This is what it means, bubbling and capturing. The remove event listener method removes event handlers that have been attached with the add event listener method. So if you want to remove a event handler, so you will say element dot remove event handler mouse move my function. Right. So here they have created a div with a background color, border padding color, font size, and the div id is my div, and the paragraph is written this div element has on mouse over event handler that displays a random number every time you move your mouse inside this orange field. So when I move the mouse inside the orange field, see it, a random number is getting displayed here. So click the mouse button to remove the div event handler. So button on click is equal to remove handler id my button. So this is the name of the function which we are calling, and we have closed the div, and paragraph demo is created. In the script we are saying document dot get element by id my div. So we are accessing this div. Dot add event listener mouse move my function. So on the mouse move, this my function is called. So the mouse in the my function we are saying document dot get element by id demo dot initialize math dot random. So math is a library file, dot random is a function inside that. So here any random number will be displayed whenever I move my mouse in this orange area. So on mouse move function event listener is added here. Function remove handler, right? Document dot get element by id my div. So it will access this. Remove event listener mouse move my function, right? So you are removing this mouse move handler, and this function will be what they are saying remove. So if I click on this button, right? So where the button has been created here. So we are calling remove handler here. This function is called when the mouse is clicked. So when I click on the mouse, so now if I click on move the mouse on the orange one, it will not, this number will not keep on changing the random number. The event handler has been removed. This is what they are telling you. So you can remove any HTML element also. So here they are saying use the event listener to assign an on-click event to the button element. So button ID is equal to demo, document.get element by ID demo. I have to add event listener click, right? So this is how you add an event. Navigation, I will talk about that also. So this is what this event listener was all about, right? So they are saying add an event handler to the element button where on click an alert message is shown. So that is what they have shown here. Then add 2 click events to the element button where in the first click an alert message, this is first click is shown, and in the second an alert message, this is second is clear. So that is also they have shown, that is also there. Okay. Then remove an event listener. So this is how you can remove an event listener. We have seen that. So now the exercise says design an HTML page as shown below. Implement the event on button, click display the date using HTML DOM events before click on submit button. So this you can do. Is there a problem? So you will say click on submit button to display date and time. So you will add an event to the submit button, right? And display the date. Can you do that? Any problems in this? On mouse, on button click. You have to add. You create a button. Button ID is equal to btn or whatever name you want to give, and close, and the val and the name you can give submit, and close a button, and then in the script you will say document get element by id btn dot add event listener, right, is equal to, oh sorry, add event listener click comma function, and you can implement directly the date, or you can call a function which is there and which is displaying the date. Can you do that? And this way, in a paragraph can be a demo paragraph, there you can display a date. This is the first thing we are done right now. Yes or no? In the add event listener, this was the first one which we were doing right here. Can you see that? Right? So you click, and this is a display date function. Display date, you are calling the date function. Adding an event listener, right? Then design an HTML page to show that when this page is loaded, it must check the cookie status of user's browser and display a message accordingly in the pop-up box if the cookies are enabled. So this also we have seen. This is what cookies one. Where was that cookie one? I think it was in the events only. Cookies enabled or something like that. Check cookies, this one. On load, check cookies, whether they are enabled or not, this one. This is the same one, which they are saying design a HTML page to that page is loaded, it must check the cookie status of user's browser and display a message accordingly in the pop-up box. If the cookies are enabled, show cookies are enabled, and if not, show cookies are disabled. The on load event. The load event will be there. This one. So on load. Right? Then when a user input a text in the text box, in any case, upper or lower case, automatically it should be converted to uppercase. Design a HTML page to implement the functionality on change event. So this also we have done that, right? So on change event. This one. This is on input. This is on change. So whenever you put anything on change, it will change to uppercase. So this is on change. This also we have done. Then when we design an HTML page to implement HTML DOM events by changing an image on the following events: on mouse over, mouse out, on mouse down, on mouse over, on mouse out, on mouse down, and on mouse up events. So change an image on the following events. So can you do this? Actually we have done on mouse over and on mouse this, But here you don't have to display the text, an image should be displayed instead of that. On mouse over, an image should be there. That means here you are in the inner HTML, you have to show an image. Here also you have to show an image like that. Can you do that?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So that is there. So these are the things which you are required to do in the exercise, which they are saying. And the next section, that is HTML DOM navigation and all that, we'll do it tomorrow. Right? Right? Any problems, anybody? Any doubt, anything? Tell me. Any doubt, class? Am I clear? Anybody has any doubt? Any doubt? Everybody has written their enrollment number and name in the chat box. Anybody is left for today's class? Name and enrollment number for your attendance. Just write your name and enrollment number in the chat box. Those who have not done it.
हेलो
Yes.
मैडम, एक डाउट था, कह रहा था कि अगर लैब के प्रैक्टिकल होंगे तो आप जो ये असाइनमेंट करवा रहे हो इन्हीं की फाइल बना के जमा करवानी है क्या?
आप बना सकते हो, पर जमा करानी, मेरे ख्याल से जमा कराने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी.
अच्छा, सीधे प्रैक्टिकल ही होंगे, मतलब फाइल वगैरह जमा नहीं होगी?
नहीं.
ओके मैम, थैंक यू.
Anybody is left for the attendance? आप all of you are starting, you have started your assignments. आप assignments कर रहे हो अपने?
यस मैम.
30th तक सबमिट करना है आपको, 30th of November.
यस मैम.
If anybody is having any doubt in the assignments or anything?
मैम वो हॉल टिकट डाउनलोड करने का वो पोर्टल खुल गया?
अभी नहीं खुलेगा वो तो एक दो हफ्ते पहले आएगा एग्जामिनेशन के स्टार्ट से. अभी नहीं खुलेगा वो. और वो भी आपको इग्नू की वेबसाइट से डाउनलोड करना पड़ेगा.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, can we get the recorded lecture on merit?
Recorded lecture, I don't know. You have to ask the center, Merit Center. Their landline number is there. You can ask them whether you will get the recorded lecture or not.
Okay, ma'am.
It is already there on the YouTube channel.
Okay,
Merit.
thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else is there who has not put the attendance? I have copied rather. So we'll meet in the next class tomorrow. Any other doubt? Should we end the class?
Ma'am, I have one doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, is it necessary to use the database in the assignment? First question.
Which assignment you are talking?